Hey everyone, today we're going to cover what a slider is and how to basically use it and manipulate it. So the slider is a UI element which allows a value to be adjusted between a minimum and a maximum value. So if we go under a hierarchy and right click, under UI we see there is the option to add a slider here. We're going to add that in and you're going to see we get sort of a toggle which looks like we can slide across a bar. Now under the slider in the hierarchy, if we click this drop down arrow, you'll see we get a background. Now the background is the image of the background of the toggle, so that is this thing here. This is the background, and then you also get a fill area which has a fill object inside. So the fill area is an empty game object. This just contains sort of the dimensions of the fill area. It's just so this fill sort of, because if you look at the fill under Rect transform, it is stretching, so it's just sort of, so it knows where to stretch to, like the sort of dimensions for it to stretch to. And the fill is like the actual thing that fills the background. So if we was to expand this, you see it fills the background, and it should, I believe, go up to here, and then at which point this image would cover the rest. Because this image here, this handle will come across with the fill. The handle slide area is an empty game object which contains the dimensions of the slider handle. So exact same as the fill area is for the fill, the handle slide area is the dimensions for the handle, because this is also a stretch. And this one just moves across. We don't stretch this one just moves across. Be careful when you undo stuff, because it seems to, because it's a stretch, remove it from its stretch state, so you've got to re-stretch it again. And then the handle is just the image of the handle. This is like, I could change this to a bit square, and there you go, it's a square, it's just the image of the handle. Okay, now let's go to our slider and look at some components. So in the slider component, we have a transition. We've covered this in, I think it was the last video. There was a video we covered transitions. It's the exact same system, so that when you press it, it will go a different color. I'm not going to cover it again. We've covered all these in a previous video. We will, however, look at the fill rect. This is new. So the fill rect, this is the fill object. So that's what's filling the background. So you could just drag your fill in here. Maybe you'd want to have it a different colour, so I might have my fill like slightly green. But as long as you've got your fill background in here, your fill in the fill rect, that's good. The handle rect is the rect transform of the handle object, so that is this one, the handle. Once again, you've just got to drag them two in there, easy to understand. The direction, this is the direction the bar fills. Left to right, it's going to fill, it's going to go from the left, and the bar's going to go slide across to the right. Right to left, the bar's going to, if we was to select this, just quickly, it should, there you go, it's going to go from the right and it's going to fill to the left, slide to the left even. Bottom to top, it's going to start at the bottom and it's going to slide up to the top, and top to bottom, it's going to start at the top and slide to the bottom. I'm just going to leave that as left to right. The min and max value, this is once again easy. So the min value, this is the value of the slider when it's at its minimum, and the max value is the value of the slider when it's at its maximum. Now unfortunately you can't have this as a negative number, because if I was to go negative, you're going to see it starts playing up, it gets a bit weird. So unfortunately you can't have a negative. It's literally between 0 and whatever number you want. But I could make this like 10. And now, as you see, if I was to make them in 1, but now if the value was 1, would be here, if it was 2, be there, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you can see it's now between a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 10. So that's good if you've got like a value, like a setting maybe, like a audio level. So say you've got a game you have, or an app, you have an audio level, and you want it to go from 0 to 100. The user can then adjust the scroll bar to how loud they want it, and then you can have like a percentage here, like in this case 58%. But there's loads of different uses for these. You can have them between 0 and 1. You can have it between anything you'd like. I'm just going to put this as between 0 and 100, and you can make it so it's whole numbers only. So whole numbers is a Boolean state that only allows integer values as an output. So this makes it great for like audio levels. As I said earlier, going back to that previous example, say we have 84%, I think it was something like that. We can't have like 84.6%, it's just, that would just round to 85. And when you have audio levels, you normally just want it between 0 and 100%. You don't want like a decimal of an audio level, because it gets really specific and it can make it hard for the user to choose exactly what they want. So having whole numbers is good sometimes if you don't want these decimal values in the slider. I'm going to leave that as true. On value changed, this is where you can assign an event whenever the value of the slider is changed. So we're going to cover that in a minute. But first we're going to cover an example script. So under the assets, I'm going to create a C# script, and I'm just going to call it example slider. And here we're going to open this up. Okay, so the goal of this code is to print slider value, and then the slider value whenever the value of the toggle changes, or the slider, sorry, changes. So let's have a look at how we can do this. Now obviously this isn't going to be a scripting tutorial because this whole series is based on just UI, but I'm just going to write some quick code which will hopefully allow you to get an idea of how to get the value of the slider. So first of all, we're going to want to be using the Unity engine .ui namespace so we can access the slider. And up here, let's just create a serialized field. This can be a slider, and we'll just call it slider. Now, we don't need to define it in start, but what we can do is under the, not even update, sorry, let's just make a new method. Let's make a public void, because we're not going to return anything. We'll just create this, and we'll call it public void slider changed. And we don't need any parameters. All we need to say is print or debug.log if you want to be technical, slider value, and then we're going to add the slider dot value dot toString, just so we can convert that thing to a string. I'm also going to put, it's an integer anyway, so I don't need to put anything in there. So what this will do is it's going to print slider value, and to do that we literally just use slider dot value. The dot, so slider is the name of the variable which is the slider object, and dot value just gets the value of the slider in its current state. Now if we was to save this, head back into Unity, and let's create an empty game object called slider system. I don't know, just an object, because we have to have game objects for our scripts to go on, otherwise the script won't do anything. It has to be on a game object. So now if we go to our slider, and under on value changed, we can click add. I'm going to put this as 0 by default. Drag in our slider system. Under no function, we can go to example slider and select our slider changed method that we've created. Now if we hit play, you're going to see, if I go into the console, so this is where all our stuff will get printed. I'm going to change it a little bit. Oh sorry, I need to actually set the slider into, so under our slider system, where it says slider, we want to drag our slider into there. Now if we give it another go, we can drag this, and you'll see it's changing as we drag it. So let's say, I want 100%, let's say I want a volume 100, there we go, slider value 100. Now I want it maybe 25, so we're looking at about here, 25. And as you can see, it's printing, each time it changes, it's going to print what our value is. So that is all I needed to show you for the slider. This is very, very useful. Sliders are a lot more useful than they look. You can use them for settings, you can use them for games. I've used one before for, I made an idle game, and I had like a fill bar, and I used a slider for it, but it didn't have a handle, you couldn't play around with it. It was just all done by script, so you had an upgrade, so you needed to say 100 coins to get an upgrade, and as you got more coins, this bar would fill. So this would be 100 coins, so you can get the upgrade. 0 coins, and the bar would fill as you got more coins. So it just gives you an idea of how far towards your goal you are. Just things like that. You can literally use this for anything. That's just an example. But I hope you found this video helpful, everybody. If you did, please leave a like and consider subscribing, because it really helps us out. And I'll see you in the next video, where we're going to cover the scroll bar. So thanks for watching, and goodbye, everyone.